Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this week's episode, we see Leclerc's curse continue and Lando's luck lacking. This one is jam-packed with highs and lows, so as always, buckle up as we dive into the latest action-packed F1 race. Now join me to see if we can fit qualifying into 60 seconds. Now join me to see if I can fit the review of qualifying within 60 seconds. Leclerc takes his fourth consecutive pole position in Azerbaijan. The battle to break the curse was on and get his first victory from pole at this GP. Piastri secures P2, giving Leclerc something to worry about. And Carlos Sainz was just shy of locking out the front row for Ferrari and locked in at P3. A pleasant surprise was to see Perez take P4. Was the race going to be the turning point for better days? George Russell putting in a respectable effort and starting P5. A troubling sign for Red Bull with Verstappen taking P6. Hamilton was disappointed with P7 and attributed this to the tyres not switching on. A quality performance from Alonso securing P8 in a car that was apparently not a car. The Williams drivers put on a great show securing P9 and P10 with Colapinto out-qualifying Albon. This may be of course due to the Williams team leaving Alex's cooling machine on board. Oliver Bearman wasn't best pleased but secured P11, which is a positive result, qualifying ahead of Hülkenberg. Yuki takes P12, not overly pleased with the car's performance, giving the team's past success at Baku. It was a good performance from Pierre, who takes P13. Nico Hülkenberg, surprised by the team's performance, only takes P14. Some spoilt rich kid secured P15 in anything but a car. Daniel taking P16. In qualifying, we saw trouble for Lando. It seems it's going to be an uphill battle for the Drivers' Championship. For the kick team, we saw Bottas and Zhou secure P19 and P18 respectively, not a surprise to them or us. Ocon had car troubles, so is locked in to P20. It must be mentioned that Gasly was eventually disqualified from qualifying, and penalties were taken by Hamilton and Ocon, which would result in them starting in the pit lane. This meant many drivers moved up from their starting positions, most notably Lando moves from P17 to P15. Every little helps. Now let's see if I can do the same for a 60-second review of the actual race. Oscar Piastri holds out and does a drive of a lifetime, holding back the Prince of Baku. From the daring dive bomb to holding back Leclerc lap after lap, this is a drive that will not be forgotten quickly. It seems the curse continues for Leclerc, having to be complacent with second place. And it's a nice surprise for George Russell, who takes P3 and is just happy to be on the podium. We'll explore how this result took place later in the video. Lando Norris living up to the hype and moving from P15 to P4. A question could be asked, could he have gone further if he wasn't held up by that masterclass showing from Alex Albon? A disappointing result for Max Verstappen and the Red Bull team, who now lose control of the Constructors' Championship and a few more points in the drivers to Lando Norris. A nice haul of points for Fernando Alonso and the Aston Martin team. Alex Albon finishing P7, bringing home valuable points to the team, and a great performance from Franco Colapinto securing 4 points in P8. From this result, he has now earned more points in 2 drives than Logan and Latifi in their combined 69 races for Williams. It must be said that Lewis is lucky to be finishing P9, but points are points. The rookies gave him a run for his money in that race. Oliver Bearman in a similar position to Hamilton. This now means Oliver Bearman is the owner of a special achievement, being the first driver to score 2 points for 2 different teams in one Constructors' Championship. Hülkenberg got caught up in the drama near the end of the race, resulting in him finishing P11. Gasly making up places and finishing P12, and Ricciardo, Zhou and Ocon taking P13, 14 and 15 respectively. Bottas rounds off the finishing cars in P16. We now move to the dramatic moments of the race as Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz make contact, which results in major damage and both drivers DNFing from the race. Shortly we'll review this in further depth. The human embodiment of paint drying finishes P19 after ruining someone else's race. They didn't have the skill or the car to make that attempted overtake. And for Tsunoda, it's another weekend of tears and no cheers. The double DNF, not finishing in Monza and now Azerbaijan. Hopefully he gets a chance in the next race. Now we will do a quick deep dive into some of the more notable moments in the race. And we'll leave the Perez and Sainz incident till the end. Leclerc on pole. Once again this man keeps showing me how wrong I've been and puts it on pole. But after a wild overtake from Piastri, he struggles to make a worthy counterattack. It seems he fought till the end, but just before lap 50, you could see he had to back off, and this resulted in him dropping back to Perez, and eventually Sainz. Piastri's overtake and win, what a drive. However, before we look into the drama that unfolded, we should all take a moment to appreciate the work that Oscar put into that drive. Again, he shows with the right car under him, we could be watching a future world champion hone his skills. It will be extremely interesting to watch the start of the next season if these cars keep their performance at this level. Who would you bet on, Lando or Piastri? Red Bull struggles. Max's weekend was difficult and the car was not performing the way he wanted it to. But overall it was an interesting watch to see how Red Bull tackled this new challenge. Max's struggle with the car and having to wrestle it around the streets of Baku was interesting. A notable moment was Perez out-qualifying Max, and of course this would end in tears for Perez, but it truly shows the difficulties the team and drivers are having at the moment. The meh mercs they could be called. You could have done better, is what I was thinking when I watched them. It seemed it took them too long to work out the balance of the car. It was a weekend of uncertainty for the pair of Mercedes drivers, George questioning the strategy of the weekend, but calmly claiming the podium finish, and Lewis again struggled with the same tyre temperature issues that have plagued him throughout the season, so found it difficult to climb through the field. Of course, this was made more difficult by the young Brit Oliver Bearman. And on that note, Oliver Bearman makes a new record as mentioned previously. From this drive, he's showing that he deserves his seat in F1, not by just his driving ability, but by his behaviour and attitude after qualifying and the race. Also, it must be mentioned again that now he holds a great record by earning 2 teams points in 1 season, hopefully much more to come from this young driver. And Williams having their best weekend yet. I've said it many times, but once again, the Williams teams are on the up and up, and both drivers showing great talent this race. Of course, lucky to gain positions at the end of the race, but both drivers were already in the points, so great effort by them. Now, with this boost of 10 points, they're only 13 behind Haas, and 18 points behind the RB team. Both teams better watch out as Williams could join the fight for 6th or 5th in the Constructors' Championship. Now a question for everyone watching. At what point does Aston Martin really look at Lance's future? Lawrence will protect him, but surely at some point other investors and sponsors make a protest. It must be painful for Alonso to single-handedly carry the team's chances at Constructors' points. Now it's finally time to review the major incident that unfolded in the late stages of the GP. It was looking to be a strong finish for Ferrari, with a possible 2-3 finish and getting a double podium. And for Perez, he had a moment that he dreamed he could secure a podium finish, and from most of the race it looked to be 3rd place. But in the later laps it was a 50-50 if he would be getting 2nd or even drop down to 4th. Then the chaos unfolded. Perez and Sainz made the slightest contact coming out of the 2nd turn, which resulted in a devastating crash causing both cars to DNF, gifting positions to everyone below. Now everyone can debate about whose fault it was, but in my opinion it was a simple racing incident. With a slight shift they would have had just bumped tyres, but when their respective tyres touched they interlocked and there was no way that was going to end well for either driver. Now that said, Perez had a lot of room on his left and could have given more space to Sainz. Meanwhile, Sainz did have space on his right, and it did slightly look like he tried to follow Leclerc through and gain the toe. At the end of the day, it's their loss and the other drivers gained, and the incident impacted the F1 fantasy, so let's move on and review. Let's start with the Azerbaijan results themselves. It looks like my team's done well, and Dad's team not too bad. Mum losing some points again from 1st to 2nd. And valuable points gained in the fight for 3rd, with Lawrence and Dad gaining lots of points, and Jess giving a healthy showing. The real winner and loser of the GP is myself as the winner, not to gloat, and the loser is possibly Ben, trying to fight his way back up into the competition for 3rd. This is most disappointing for him, as in the last 4 races he's had great results, so it's unfortunate to see a downswing. Hopefully he bounces back in this weekend. And quickly to take a deep dive into these teams. Again, very lucky with me with the Mercedes having George and Russell with the accident, and then we move on to Dad's team, again having Leclerc, Russell, the Mercedes and the McLaren, beautiful. Mum, very unlucky with the Ferrari, she should have probably been higher if not for that incident. And again, just to review Ben's team again, unfortunately he did use the final fix, which I would have recommended to swap from Lando to Leclerc, because we thought he would get the win, but unfortunately it didn't actually play out well, because Lando got more points from the places gained, as well as the great drive that he performed. Now let's actually highlight some of the points gained from some of the drivers. We have Lando, unbelievable points for the overtakes, everything he's done was great and gained loads of points. Leclerc on the disappointing side, I would say personally, and then McLaren, beautiful. Mercedes, lucky, and then Ferrari, well, could have gone better, and Red Bull, devastating blow for that crash, to be honest. Colapinto we'll quickly take a look at for the money and the points, really good. Bearman, even though securing healthy points, money down 1.7, very brutal. And the Williams, good points for the team, a great jump in 31 points, almost a third of their points gained this season, but their value only going up very minimally. Thank you for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date and notified. Potter.